LeBron James and Laura Ingraham, where the Fox anchor told him to just shut up and dribble. So the question we posed earlier is, how should white Americans feel about this rhetoric? Max, you're up.
I just wanted to respond to something, Will, that you said quickly. And Stephen A., I don't want to get in the way of the point you made to get back to the kind of idea of being a representative of one's race. You know, the famous FDR quote to Joe Louis, "You're a credit to your race," and there was this awkward pause, the human race. So I think there's stuff to get into there, but quickly, Will, you mentioned earlier that I have, Max, you get sloppy and this and that. First of all, it's a general accusation, which I don't agree with. I think I'm very precise. And secondly, I think you were reacting to the fact that what we see on the lower third there is how should white America feel about this? Based on the Fox News, Laura Ingraham tells white Americans, tells LeBron to shut up and dribble. That was the question we were answering. It seemed to me you thought we were talking about the Blackhawks as the news peg. So yeah, I just wanted to clear that up.
First of all, time out, Max. I apologize. If I said you get sloppy, you're absolutely right. You are precise as precise gets, and you deserve that credit.
And Will, to interrupt one more time, you are an honest broker, and that's why I enjoy talking to you. Even when we disagree, I never take it personally.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So on the question, on the point that Stephen A. made before we went to break, that, you know, I have the liberty of speaking as an individual, Stephen A. I think if I characterize this correctly, you basically said I can come on national TV and tell you how I feel as Will Cain, as an individual, where you, Stephen A., have a responsibility to speak for a broader population, in your case, African Americans. Correct? Is that a fair characterization?
Yes. Not to agree, but to at least verbalize their perspective and points of views. Yes.
Well, see, now that's a good clarification, Stephen A., because the point I wanted to push back on is I know you, and I've watched you before I got to know you, and you don't do that. You are an individual who speaks his individual mind, and you have been accused from every side of the political spectrum and every side of the racial spectrum of not doing what he is responsible for doing. You know, I mean, you've been called awful things because you have the temerity and the courage to have individual takes from time to time. Right. So I don't know why today you would then say, you know, we should then turn around and say, I should answer for white Americans, or you can answer for black Americans. You, Stephen A., speak for Stephen A., and you've paid prices for that. So why would you not do it today? Or why would you say it's not what you're doing?
Well, first of all, I believe I am doing, I'm consistent with who I am. And I wasn't saying to you that you should speak on behalf of white America. What I was saying to you, as I would say to Max, is that as white individuals, you might have a perspective I don't have because I'm not you. I'm not white. Now, that's what I'm saying.
Now, I think you're taking it too literally. That's the thing. It's through your experience. Like, I gave my opinion as a woman, my experience. I'm not speaking for all women. Stephen A's speaking as a black American.
Yeah, and I'm just saying to you that the only difference is that white folks make up 66% of the population. There's a level of comfort in these United States of America that you have enjoyed that most black Americans would tell you we have never, nor will we ever enjoy. We have to live with what we have to live with. It's a reason why LeBron James, who's worth close to $1 billion probably, that has a house in Brentwood, gets the N-word spray painted on his gate in his house in Brentwood. These are, and he doesn't hesitate to bring it up. There's a reason for that, because it's constantly reminding us that no matter how far we climb, there's always something or someone or a plethora of people or a particular group in the populace who believes or who's quick to remind us we are what we just are. It's almost the equivalent, Will, of right. You know, you've seen white folks in the past have conversations about what their belief was about black folks, and then you bring up Magic Johnson, and they had the audacity to literally sit there and say, well, he's not black. Or Michael Jordan to say, well, he's not black. Now, obviously, that's not something that's applicable to you or Max or what have you, but maybe you would have a better explanation for such ignorance than I would.
Guys, I think we're getting stuck on the question, but I want to get to the crux of the issue.
I got it, Molly. I got it. I understand. And I understand. I think I've always understood. The question is, you want me to answer this as someone who happens to be white, right? Who might have a different perspective than somebody else.
Sure.
And I'm just pushing. Yes, and I'm just pushing back on that not being your primary filter. It's one of a dozen or more that I would like to identify as who Will Cain is. But that being said, I acknowledge that my experience in the world is different than Stephen A. Smith's, and for Max Kellerman's for that matter. The question is this, and I'm going to try to do them all quickly. When it comes to things like that happened at the Chicago Blackhawks game, and I understand that's not necessarily a question, I think those are isolated. They're not representative of society. That doesn't mean they don't ring deep and hard and affect people of color when they hear stuff like that. I do my best to try to understand that. And so while I'll tell you it's isolated, that doesn't minimize what you have experienced. Now let's transfer over to Laura Ingraham. Now, I truly think Laura Ingraham had no racial intent in what she said whatsoever, nor should it be heard, because after you react, then you have to ask yourself, how was it intended? I think she's told the Dixie Chicks to shut up and sing. She's told actors, De Niro, to shut up and act. She told Popovich to shut up and coach. She's limiting you, but she's limiting you to your profession. I disagree with that idea. And by the way, Max, you point out she doesn't hold it consistently. She's brought Joe the Plumber on, or she's brought Chuck Norris on. It happens to be who she agrees or disagrees with. I welcome all points of view, but I will protect none. I will destroy all that don't hold up to scrutiny based upon, I don't care about your qualifications, I don't care about your race, I care about the quality of your words.
One issue.
I think she should be judged for not being like that. She shouldn't be judged by making it racial. I don't think it was racial.
One issue, and by the way, as it relates to Laura Ingraham, Stephen A., you heard the dog whistle loud and clear. Will, you're saying, no, you don't think there was racial intention. My basic point of view on Laura Ingraham is when there is plausible deniability, when it's difficult to pin down if you hear a dog whistle, why exactly that is. What, are you saying it's because you say dribble a basketball, and there are a lot of African Americans in the NBA, but she has said shut up and act, shut up and coach, shut up, etc.? I think there's plausible deniability there. So even if you do hear it, Stephen A., if you can't pin it down, I believe that undermines credibility when legitimate claims are made, when people actually do have clearly stated racial intentions. And that's why I give Laura Ingraham the benefit of the doubt here, Will, although I'm not sure what's in her heart. I don't know. I want to quickly say about the Blackhawks thing, Will.
No, you got to stop right there, Max, because I want to respond to what you just said.
Gotcha.
I want to respond to what you just said. Let's be very, very clear. No one heard me call Laura Ingraham some racist or anything like that. I never said that about her. I don't know her, and to be quite honest with you, Will, and you've seen me do this in the past, I don't think that when somebody says something racially insensitive, that makes them racist. I think you could have made an honest mistake. I think that you could have found a better way to communicate yourself. It's just that simple to me. But just because you're saying something is racially insensitive, you're not calling her a racist. But it doesn't mean it wasn't racially insensitive, because it's about who you're talking to, it's about who you're talking about, and it's about how the message would be received. If other groups didn't have a, if you sat up there and told somebody to shut up and make me laugh, like she said about Jimmy Kimmel one time, well, you know what? That's going to be taken differently than you telling the greatest athlete in the world, you don't shut up and dribble a basketball, when historically that's been something that a large segment of our populace wanted black athletes to do.
Steve, I'm glad you cleared that you made your position clear there. The Blackhawks thing, Will, I know it feels to me like you've been wanting to touch on that. You have touched on it, and I want to say one thing. When you say that's an isolated racist incident, because that is racism, not just being racially insensitive, what the last election showed, and what we've seen from in terms of behavior from white supremacist groups since then, the way they've appeared emboldened, is that the level of overt racism, of maybe it was latent, but at this point overt, is shocking to people like me, who after that election did not recognize the country in which they lived. I was not aware it was to the level that it was. So I don't think it's, you know, and when the person who was elected is making calls to white identity politics, right, specifically, and that's what got them elected. Again, forget about economic calls and everything else. The one correlation that's more positive than anything else with the election of the current president is racial identity. And that's just a fact.
Gentlemen, just a heads up, last point here.
To claim that these are isolated incidents and unconnected to what's going on in the larger world, I think is naive, and I think that LeBron put his finger on it.
All right, we'll leave it there. I told you what I think the moral equivalency is LeBron telling her to shut up and stay in the kitchen. Thanks for joining us, Will. Appreciate you being with us.
Thanks for having me in, guys.
After the break, Kobe is arguably the greatest Laker of all time, but find out what he thinks of players who shy away from joining the Lake Show. And the Daily News is certainly fired up about our next topic, the headline, for God's sakes, Tim Tebow reportedly on his way to the majors. But how soon does he deserve a chance? Don't go anywhere. Tebow time! It's next.
There's a secret in them Smoky Mountains, and it's my new KFC Smoky Mountain Barbecue, made by taking my freshly prepared extra crispy fried chicken and coating it in a sweet and smoky barbecue. Try it in a tender's basket at KFC, now just $4.99. It's finger-licking good.
J'ai encore en mémoire le parfum de l'homme que j'ai rencontré. Il portait Old Spice. J'ai nommé mon chien Old Spice. Marie! Janine?